chapter 9, entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge, text number 15. So just to recap on last week, very important verse. This verse is telling us the life of a devotee. What does a devotee do? What does a devotee do? So devotee is always chanting. And as I mentioned, you just look at Prabhupada, any picture you see of Prabhupada, 99% of the pictures, he's got japa beads in his hand. So he's always chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So either japa or kirtan, softly or loudly, always chanting the Lord's names. And we know, like the six Goswamis, they all chanted a huge number of rounds every day. They were always chanting. Haridas Thakur, who Lord Chaitanya appointed as the great teacher of the holy name, chanted 192 rounds every day.
When does he sleep?
Very little sleep. Very little sleep.
Must be very little eat as well, because less you eat, less you sleep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So less food, less sleep, and more chanting. Well, that's a sign of advanced devotee. Doesn't sleep very much, doesn't eat very much.
I'm far advanced. I'm not nowhere near that. I need 6 hours sleep.
Yeah. But we don't want to imitate them either. We don't want to try to imitate them either. This will naturally happen, that our eating and sleeping will reduce as we become more advanced in Krishna consciousness. That will naturally happen. So we don't have to artificially force that to happen. It would automatically, as our taste for devotional service increases, then our Jayanti Guruji has something to say.
This reminds me of you. We used to eat from a coconut shell.
Oh, yeah. So in the early days of Krishna consciousness, when I was a brahmachari, I was mistakenly trying to imitate the great devotees. So especially one devotee was Raghunath Das Goswami, was very famous for his austerities, very austere. So I was trying to sort of imitate Raghunath Das Goswami. So I used to eat out of half of a coconut shell, a broken coconut. That was my plate. Whatever would fit in there, I would eat that much. I wouldn't eat more than what would fit in that half of the coconut, like that. And but my health wasn't very good from all my speculative activities. So yeah, it's not recommended to try to imitate them, but rather we should follow their instructions. We should try to follow their instructions.
So we have to do whatever Prabhupada say, but we don't do whatever Prabhupada do. Is that what I mean?
Correct. Yeah. Because, so whatever he told us to do.
Because the Guru Maharaj is 1,000 volt, and then you and me, we are like a 20 volt. If we do whatever the Guru Maharaj, we might blow up. 1,000 volt and 20 wouldn't stand. The globe will blow up. So whatever the Guru does, don't do that. We do whatever he say, because he knows the capacity of the disciple. And so because he's very powerful, he can do a lot of things, like sleep only 3 hours and perform perfectly, full energy. But we can't do that. If you're trying to, we collapse.
Okay. Okay. So there's two different processes: is imitating and following the instructions. So what's recommended is to follow the instructions, not to imitate them. Obviously, Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill. Can we do that? No. So also, he danced with the gopis in the night. Should we do that? No. Lord Shiva, he drank an ocean of poison. Should we do that? No. Actually, Lord Shiva's followers, they try to imitate Lord Shiva by drinking poisonous substances. They take so many kinds of intoxicants, things like that, and many of them end up severely injured and die because of taking so many kind of intoxicants. So yeah, we shouldn't imitate these great personalities. Rather, we should follow their instructions. Yeah. So, yeah, this is the life of a devotee. It's always chanting as much as possible. And then it's mentioned endeavoring with great determination. So, yeah, working hard, but for Krishna. Not endeavoring for our own sense gratification. A devotee doesn't do that. But rather, we work hard for Krishna's pleasure. And we see how hard Prabhupada worked for Krishna's pleasure. Like as mentioned, he only slept like 3.5 hours a day because he was always working so hard to spread Krishna consciousness like that. So, and a lot of these projects that we take on to please Krishna, to be able to do it requires a lot of determination. So, yeah, you have to be very determined. But, karmis, materialistic people are very determined also, some of them, but for their own projects, for their own enjoyment. They want to build some big skyscraper for their sense gratification, or they want to become CEO for their sense gratification, or whatever like that. So, they want to get a PhD and all these kind of things. So it requires determination, but that's for their own selfish enjoyment. But a devotee has the same determination, but for Krishna's pleasure, not for themselves like that. Some people have an idea that once you take the spiritual life, you don't do anything, but that's actually a mistake. I mean, I had that idea also before meeting the devotees, that spirituality means you don't do any activities anymore. You stop your activities. But that's actually not true. That's a wrong understanding. We continue activities, but instead of for our own sake, we do it for Krishna's sake, Krishna's enjoyment. That's the difference. Like Arjuna wanted to stop fighting. He had an idea, I'm going to become a sannyasi, a spiritual person, and I'm going to get out of this fighting business. I'm going to stop fighting. But Krishna told him, no, you fight, but fight for me. Fight for me. So that's the difference. So we do all the activities, but we do it for Krishna, not for ourselves. But it doesn't mean we have to dip out of the material world. A lot of people also look at Hare Krishnas and they say, oh, when they're chanting, oh, you lazy bums, get a job, do some work, like that. But they don't realize, like, chanting is work. It's a lot of work. I've seen devotees like dancing continuously for hours. That's hard work. You try to do that. You try to do that. They can't do it. What the devotees do, they can't do. The devotees are dancing from 4:30 in the morning. It's like hard work. The karmis can't even get out of bed by that time. So, and the devotees are like jumping up and down. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy to do that. And like now in this Kumbh Mela, there's some devotees. They've got what's called a mega kitchen or something? Mega
kitchen, yes.
Mega kitchen, yeah. So one of the devotees there, Gaurangadas, he's like in charge there, Radhanath Swami disciple. Yeah. And in that kitchen, they're cooking for 100,000 people a day. Yeah, 100,000 people every day. That's hard work. It's not like, I get a job, you lazy bums. No, that's more work. That's so hard work.
Because this is called a confidential knowledge. These people, those who say that lazy bum has some, because they don't have a knowledge that they want to understand. So they are ignorant. Yeah. Once they got a knowledge, they'll understand. So
yeah. Of course, karmis are working hard to make money, to get money, and devotees are working hard. We don't get any, often don't get any money out of it. Just for Krishna, and karmis can't understand that. No, how a devotee can work without getting any profit out of it, without getting any benefit out of it. Of course, we do get benefit, but that benefit is that feelings of love from Krishna. The devotee feels great ecstasy and great bliss by doing all this service voluntarily for Krishna. And so
I was at the temple on the long weekend. I seen that one person, he was barely walking. I said, I've seen this guy before. I can't remember that. And he called my name, Gulshan. And I said, And then he was like, his speech was out of that. And he was like, and I said, he's saying my name, Dad. What happened to him? He barely walk. And he can't even stand straight. He's like, Ashtavakra.
Oh.
And I went too close to him. And then I said, do I know you? He said, yeah. I said, okay, where? And he says, back in 1995, you used to work in my restaurant in Sydney. I remember that. Oh my God, I can't recognize that person. And his wife came. Then I recognized his wife. I said, what happened to him? And then she was telling this, happens.
Stroke.
Yeah. Yes. Then he fall from the ladder, and then he just hit the head on the ground, and then all the things there. And I hadn't seen him for 30 years. And I was just telling, I used to, I got the cancer and all that. I just dropped everything and I come to the temple. And then she said that if I start coming to the temple, he's going to get better. I said, look, you know what? There's no guarantee. I didn't come to the temple to get better. I just come there to surrender. Just surrender to Krishna. That's it. That sickness would not feel like a sickness. Sickness will come. Whoever Krishna consciousness, it's not like the sickness won't come. It will come, but you won't feel much sickness. You will feel it's a part of the life and it'll go. She said, really? I said, yes. And then she said, okay. I said, first thing first, get the chanting bead. She said, what is it? She got no idea what is that. I said, well, look, you know what? Get the Bhagavad Gita.
They're Indians, are they?
Yeah, they are Indians, but they car me. I used to work in the restaurant there, and then eat and drink and sex and drugs and rock and roll things.
Yeah.
So when I was telling my story, this is really, I said, things happens. So the mercy of Krishna. If the Krishna's mercy, anything would happen. Even the person who can't talk, the mute people start talking with the mercy of Krishna.
Yeah.
The deaf people start hearing the mercy of Krishna. Anything could happen. All you got to do just surrender unconditionally, and then you'll see the difference. So he said, okay, I just barely recognized, he couldn't walk, couldn't talk. And I did work 1995. I used to work for him. It's just so much like in 30 years time, what happened to him and like us. But so I was about to leave. I was there for 2-3 days, and they were coming in. And then the guy says that his son was saying that we asked this pujari. I was at the dhoti and kurta. Could you take us to the temple and help us? And then he says that Panditji. And I said, Pujari. He said, look, Pujari to me. And then I said, okay, anyway, I'll help him. But then I said, come out and he said my name. Then I recognized, oh my God, seriously? But so I said to just only one way. There is no other way. Just surrender to Krishna. There's no other gati. So he said, okay, he's going to come more often, and then took the Gita and all that. So hopefully he'll understand. Because if 1 minute will be a difference, I'll get back to my van and leave the temple. Or he may become 1 minute late.
Yeah.
And then I would have to go maybe an hour before, and I seen that a kitchen was dirty. I start cleaning. And the Kali Prabhu came, and another Mataji came and started cleaning the kitchen. That's why. Otherwise, I'll leave. I've never seen him. I didn't see him 30 years. I wouldn't see him that day either.
Yeah.
And son was saying,
I
know what temple there. Let's go to that temple. So this is his temple. They don't know anything about Hare Krishna. And then they see me there, and then I just took it to the Manapati's farm, and then took it all the Gaushala and all that things there, showing that things like that. So thank you so much. What a great thing that they only came at the right time.
Yeah.
1 minute difference. I was just walking to my van to go in, leaving the temple.
Yeah.
1 minute difference. You wouldn't see me. I wouldn't see him. I don't know when next 30 years is that. So it's just I think it's just the mercy of Krishna. Only if the Krishna allows that, then things will manifest. It's like everything will become in place. If you just surrender Krishna, okay, whatever way you want me to, and then he will show you the path, 100%. Anyway, back to the chapter.
Yeah, well, that's exactly fitting with the third part of a devotee's life. So chanting, endeavoring with determination, and the third thing is bowing down before me. So that's surrender, so that's the devotee's life, is always surrender to Krishna. And the external way that we show that we manifest our surrender is by bowing down. So that is the symbol of our surrender, by bowing down when we come before the deity, before the devotees. So we bow down in the temple, we bow down when we meet a devotee, like that. So this is surrender, like that. But we just, like I mentioned last week, we have to be careful not to just do the externals, fold our palms and bow our head on the ground. But then when you're asked to do something, then you don't do it. So, oh, please chant Hare Krishna. No, I can't chant. And this is what's the point? Are you doing the external bowing down? But when it comes to doing what you're told, you don't do it. No, so we should be obedient to Krishna. And that feeling of obedience to Krishna, we show that externally by bowing down. But like I say, there's no point just externally showing that you're very humble. But when it comes to being given an instruction, you don't follow it. So that's very important to follow through.
If he or she tried to be humble, I think Krishna will give a mercy and they started to be following the instructions. If they're trying to be humble, at least they did the first step, and then slowly they will understand and then following that things there. It's if at least they're trying, so the Krishna will say at least they're doing a first step.
But if we underline that, you have to try. Like some people actually they're just cheating. They're just hypocrisy. They're just
too weak. Because
weakness is one thing, and that can be forgiven. If we can't follow an instruction because we're too weak, like we're falling down from some of the regulative principles because we're too weak, or we stop chanting our 16 rounds for some time because we're too weak. That's one thing, and that can be forgiven, as long as you're try to come back up again. But what's not going to be forgiven is if you're consciously doing that, purposefully doing that, not following the principles and not chanting, and just externally showing that you're a devotee, but internally you don't really have any determination, like it's mentioned here. Don't have the determination to become a pure devotee. That's not what your real interest is, to become a pure devotee. You have a different interest. What are the different interests? Like maybe some devotee wants to have followers. Maybe some devotees want to attract the opposite sex. Maybe some devotees want to get some profit, some money out of their devotional service, their spiritual life. There's so many other reasons why we might be doing it. So those kind of things that's not going to be forgiven. That's not going to be progressive. But if you're just weak, you want to be a pure devotee and everything, you want to go back to Godhead, but you just feel you're too weak, and sometimes you slip up and everything. So Krishna will forgive that. But if you're just trying to cheat, like it's mentioned, the 10 offenses to the holy name. It's mentioned the worst offense, the most worst offense, is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. So that's said to be the worst of the 10 offenses. To commit sinful activities.
Like you can't be smart with the Krishna. No.
Exactly. He knows, that
he's sitting inside you anyway.
Yeah.
Be smart with yourself.
Yeah. So obviously to do that, we have to be pretty ignorant. But that's the way the material world is. That most souls in the material world are ignorant. So in that ignorance, we don't really care, or we forget that Krishna is seeing everything that we do. And we just go about, trying to get sense gratification, some immediate pleasure, immediate enjoyment. I was just talking about with someone, just one of the walkers came through yesterday, and we're talking about how I was saying how important knowledge is, and the guy said, well, yeah, but it's not just knowledge, because people know that smoking cigarettes is bad for your health, but still people do it. So it's more than just knowledge, because it's written on the packet. that it's going to kill you. You know, it's going to cause lung cancer and so many things, ruin your eyes and everything like that. But even though people have that knowledge, they still do it. So knowledge is not enough. And I agreed with them, but I clarified what I meant by you need knowledge. I said the Vedic understanding of knowledge doesn't just mean theoretical knowledge. It means you have the theoretical knowledge and then you've got to apply it in your life. You've got to practice it. And when you've applied it, practiced it, then you have knowledge. Until you do something with that knowledge, you don't actually have it.
That's
you don't
until that you just have information. Information become a knowledge when you experience it.
When
you can read that on the packet. It's injurious to health. That's the information only. When they become a knowledge, when you apply.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. So yeah, some devotees also just have that theoretical knowledge, but they haven't really applied it. They haven't understood it. And sometimes, you know, purposefully doing cheating kind of activities and taking advantage of other devotees or like that to get money and so forth, followers and so forth. So that's very unfortunate. But yeah, like I said, so yeah, externally you're bowing down, that's very good, but you have to follow through with that external by actually in your heart what you desire. Your desire is to please Krishna. So, and how do we please Krishna? How do we please a spiritual master? That's very simple, by following instructions. It's not rocket science, it's not hard. You know, it's not hard to please Krishna or the spiritual master. We just try to follow their instructions and then they'll be pleased.
I met this man at the swimming pool a couple of months ago. I'm not sure if I told you, and I had like a lot of swimwear on, and he said, "No, like, what are you, like a Muslim or something?" And I said, "No, I'm Hare Krishna," and we were talking for a while. Okay. And he said, "Oh, you should just be you should just become a Catholic." It was either Catholic or Christian. He said, "We just do whatever we want, and then we go to church and we confess our sins, and then we just keep doing whatever we want."
Well, he was very honest about their life.
He was
very honest. Yeah.
Oh, it cracked me up that he was so honest.
Really, in Christianity, you can do that. Like you can do any sinful activities, and Sunday you can go to the mess, and then Jesus will forgive you everything. Is that the Christianity? Yeah. I don't know.
That's what they do. Yeah. That's what they do.
Either Catholic or Christian. Yeah. So he was a bit of a joke. Okay.
You know, relating that to Krishna consciousness, if you do whatever you like and then think, "Oh, I'll just chant Hare Krishna to counteract it," that's what that offense means. That's a great offense. That if you just, you know, do all nonsense and then think, "I'll just counteract it by chanting," then that's what's regarded as offensive. Yeah. But if you know, helplessly sometimes go a bit downhill due to past bad habits or whatever like that, bad association or something, then, you know, it wasn't premeditated or anything like that, but just you're just too weak, then, you know, Krishna will forgive that, but not this other type, like you mentioned, you're a Christian friend. That's just part of their plan to have more enjoyment. What's that? I know, Johnny's saying, "Poor thing, that's not your friend." I was just joking.
Oh, no. No, he's not my friend. He's just some man at the pool. Yeah.
But in one sense, it's true, because the devotee is friendly to everyone. We are friendly to everyone.
Now, if you can excuse me, I'm going to the van. There's a lot of kids, ladies coming to the park. I just go to the van. You keep continuing the class. I'm just walking and listening.
Sure thing.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
So yeah, we can read this Sanskrit for this one, text 15.
1 minute. Let me go in the van, then we read the Sanskrit.
Okay.
You're keen to do the Sanskrit. Half a second. I'll be on the way to there.
Yeah. Okay. No rush. Don't rush.
Just half a minute. There's a few kids here, and then there's a school still the school holidays.
Yeah, school holidays. Yeah.
I thought maybe this time nobody will come there, but then they are jumping around, and then they come here close to my.
After school. Oh yeah, no school. Yeah,
that's right. For a minute, I'll be there.
Abhay, how do you think that knowledge becomes realized knowledge? I mean, how does that happen?
Yeah, by applying the knowledge in your life. By applying the knowledge, then you get realization. So sometimes it's called applied knowledge, sometimes called realized knowledge. So they're connected, these two different words, applied and realized. So when you apply it in your life, what the theory that you read or you heard it in a lecture or whatever, when you put that into practice or apply it, then you get a realization that, wow, yeah, this is so much better. Living like this, doing like this is so making me healthier, happier, more peaceful. So you'll get all these realizations when you apply that knowledge. Someone tells you, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And that's just, you've just heard that. It's just theoretical knowledge. But when you actually chant Hare Krishna and you actually experience that happiness, so that's realized. You've realized that. That's not just theoretical anymore, because you've taken up the chanting and you've experienced the happiness as a result of chanting. So that's realized knowledge.
Yeah, I'm ready now.
Yeah. So theoretical knowledge is called jnana. And when you've applied it and got some realization, that's called vijnana. Vijnana.
I used to wear tilak everywhere. It didn't bother me because, I was quite happy to talk to anybody, if they asked me, because it's quite noticeable someone so white as me wearing tilak, and the last few months when I haven't been very happy person, I stopped wearing it because I thought when I go out, because I thought, like, I don't want to misrepresent how I'm, I don't want to be unhappy Hare Krishna person and turn people off. Like, I didn't have a lot of good things to say, so I sort of stopped wearing it a bit out when I go out and things like that.
Yeah.
Because before I was a lot happier, and I was quite happy to share whatever I knew, or that sort of thing. But I thought, I can't wear it at the moment because I might not be very nice to some people, or I might.
Oh no, I wouldn't worry about that.
Scare people off. If I.
No, I wouldn't think that.
I don't have a lot of good to say. So
no, it's actually a good thing, Bhaktimala. People think that you are a very serious devotee.
One time, Prabhupada was looking very grave in a picture that had been taken of him, a photo, and a devotee said to Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, in this picture you don't look very happy. And Prabhupada said, that was my moment of greatest ecstasy. But he looked very grave,
Yeah. yeah, I've seen pictures like that.
So yeah, it's hard to tell. Sometimes grave means that you can't tell by looking at the person externally what's going on inside. That's what grave means. Okay. You can't. They've got a very grave face, means it's like sort of very neutral, very blank. You can't really tell what they're feeling inside, and that's called gravity or grave. So yeah, Prabhupada was often very grave, and you couldn't tell what's going on inside. But like he said, it was my greatest ecstasy. But it's amazing how many people ask Jayanti questions. Because of seeing her tilak, because she religiously wears tilak every day, 365 days a year. and she go to the supermarket or whatever like that, or some shop, and often people will ask a question or just exclaim, "Wow, you look so beautiful,"
Yeah.
something like that, that, or "What's that? Tell me
Yeah.
what is this?"
What's
Like that.
Yeah.
It's a great way to attract people and talk to them and like that, and some people, like in my case, when they see the seeker or whatever, or sometimes people can recognize the neck beads like that, and they say, "Oh, you're a Hare Krishna," like that. So it's nice to have these external things.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's a good way to start their interaction with them.
Yeah. No, people always will comment or talk to me or something, and yeah, that's why I just stopped wearing it for a little while, because I wasn't a very happy person, and I thought I'd just not going to say the right thing to them, or so.
No, that's nice. That's all right. Okay, let's read the verse, text 15. Jnana yagnena chapyene.
Jnana yagnena chapneye.
Just join that Y on the end of chap to the anye. So you say, instead of saying chapya ane, say chapyane. Chapyane. Yeah. Jnana yagnena chapyane.
Jnana yagnena chapyane.
Yajanto mam upasate.
Yajanto mam upasate.
Ekatvena pritatvena.
Ekatvena pritatvena.
Bahudha vishvato mukham.
Bahudha vishvato mukham. Others who engage in sacrifice by cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as a one without a second, a diverse in many, and in universal form.
Hey, Deepa, welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This is my hand, this is my legs. Dandvat.
True.
Together.
Nice. Okay, so what we're doing, Deepa, we're reading from chapter 9, text 15. So we've been talking about other things, so from last week. So now we've just read the verse, the translation. We're going to start to talk about it. Text 15, chapter 9. So this is saying others. Others. So here Krishna is looking at different kinds of persons. Not everyone's the same. There's different kinds of persons. They have different mentalities, different activities. So we looked at in text 12, demoniac persons, and it was saying there that all their hopes and desires are frustrated. So that's that's one kind of person. They're demoniac. They don't have any faith in God or the soul, and ultimately the result of being demoniac is all their hopes and desires are completely frustrated, like that. And then in text 13 and 14, it talks about the devotees who have taken shelter of Krishna, surrendered to Krishna, and engaged in devotional service, eternally engaged in serving Krishna. So yeah, so talked about the demons, then in these last two verses talked about devotees. Now it's talking about the Gyanis. The Gyanis means those that are engaged in speculative knowledge. Speculative knowledge. We're also interested in knowledge, like we read the Bhagavad Gita, right? That's knowledge. But it's not, it's authorized knowledge. It's coming down from God, right? This is authorized knowledge, means it's coming down from God through the parampara, through the succession. But there's another kind of knowledge which you try to figure out yourself. You try to get the knowledge yourself, not by hearing from an authority, but from your own mind, and intelligence. And that's called speculative knowledge. And those that try to follow this process of mental speculation are called Gyanis. So one who does that, and so they're trying to understand God, but through their own mind and senses. So that's called Jnana Yoga. So one who's trying to understand God through their own mind and senses is called a Jnana Yogi, like that. And one who tries to understand God through devotional service, that's a Bhakti Yogi. And one who tries to understand God through exercises and breathing and so forth, and meditation, that's called a Dhyana Yogi. Dhyana Yogi or a Stanga Yogi, like that. There's different words for that. So there's different ways of trying to connect with God. So here is the Jnani by cultivation of knowledge.
Jnana yoga doesn't necessarily mean speculative. Is that?
It does refer to speculative. If they were getting their knowledge from a higher authority, from Krishna or the Vedas, the Guru, then they would be called a Bhakti Yogi. Then there'd be a Bhakti Yogi.
No, I didn't realize.
Like we are getting knowledge from the spiritual master. We're getting knowledge from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, but we wouldn't be called a Jnana Yogi. We're a Bhakti Yogi. But those
so although like for instance, like participating in classes like this and reading the Bhagavad Gita, that is Bhakti Yoga, not Jnana Yoga. Although it is
Bhakti Yoga, but within Bhakti Yoga, Jnana is there. So Jnana, knowledge is within Bhakti Yoga.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Actually, a lot of people from the outside looking at devotees think that devotees don't have Jnana. Because what do they see devotees do? Singing and dancing. So a lot of people think Bhakti yogis are sentimentalists, like emotional, sentimental people that just sing and dance. And they think we don't have any philosophy. Actually, why we singing and dancing is because of the philosophy. Because of the philosophy that's telling us that Krishna enjoys when he sees the devotees singing and dancing. So that's why we do that. So it's not just because we're emotional, sentimental people. A lot of people think that Hare Krishnas take drugs because they think that's why we're so happy and we're dancing, because we've been smoking too much marijuana or whatever. But actually not, So yeah, people think that Bhakti yogis don't have Jnana. Like the Jnana yogis think that the Bhakti yogis don't have Jnana. They think that we're just sentimental people and we don't have any philosophy. Actually, we have more philosophy than anyone else. And that's why we chant and we dance, because that's what we've heard in the philosophy that Krishna wants us to do. Harinam Sankirtan, to come together and chant his holy names. And as a result of coming together and chanting his holy names, we feel so much happiness from that chanting, and that's why we dance. That comes through naturally. As those that have been to Mayapur experienced, when you've got 10,000 people in the room chanting Hare Krishna, and there's 5 mridangas playing and 20 kartals, you automatically dance. Like that. It's just feeling so happy, like that. So, but outsiders, they can't understand that. But yeah, this jnana is specifically referring to what you're trying to figure out the knowledge yourself, without hearing from Krishna, without hearing from the authority, from your own mind and your own intelligence, your own senses. What they don't understand, of course, is that Krishna, or just in general spiritual topics, are beyond the mind. They're beyond our senses. They're beyond the intelligence. It's called transcendental. So it means beyond the material world. So how can you understand what's beyond the material world from yourself, who is within the material world? Your mind is in the material world, your senses are in the material world, your intelligence is within the material world. How are you going to understand what's outside of the material world from that? You can't. Therefore, one of Krishna's names is Adhoksaja. Adhoksaja. Adhoksaja means he's transcendental. He's beyond the perception of the mind and intelligence and senses, like that. Aksha, Adhoksaja. So Aksha means eyes. He's beyond the eyes. You can't see him with these eyes. You can't, like we can look at that in the 11th chapter. It's actually mentioned in this verse about the universal form. This translation at the end, it says, and in the universal form. So that these people, the Gyanis, that's who they worship, the universe like that. But Arjuna in the 11th chapter, he wants to see that feature of Krishna as the universe, because actually the universe is actually an energy of Krishna. It's a form of Krishna. So like in the 3rd verse of the 11th chapter, let's look at that, 11th chapter, text 3. Arjuna expresses his question.
O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself. I wish to see how you have entered into cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours.
Yeah, so he says, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation, so the universe. I want to see that form of yours. So the Vishvarupa, the universal form. And then look at the 8th verse. Do I need to have some more water, please? Can you put a bit of salt in it?
He said, but you can't see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I give you divine eyes. Behold my mystic opulence.
So there you have it. Even to see the universal form of Krishna, you need divine eyes. You can't see the universal form with material eyes. So even the universal form, and that's only the universal form. That's nothing. Even higher than the universal form is the four-handed form of Lord Narayan. That's even more harder to see than the universal form. So with that, you need even more divine eyes. And then even higher than the four-handed form of Narayan is Krishna. So 100% you need, special vision to see Krishna. And even you could say, well, 5,000 years ago, Krishna was on the earth. Heaps of people saw him. But only a handful. Prabhupada says you could count it on your hand. How many people knew that Krishna was God? Because they couldn't actually see the real Krishna, that is the supreme personality of Godhead. They're just seeing, oh, there's a cowherd boy. Oh, there's a king. They're just seeing some external material veil, not the full Krishna.
Even Krishna's own mother doesn't even thinks that my son is a god, supreme personality of Godhead.
Yeah, that's a different covering. So she has love for Krishna, but
yeah,
Krishna doesn't want her to understand that he's God, because that'll spoil the pure love of the mother.
Yeah,
that'll bring in too much fear and reverence and awe and everything like that. So that's a yoga maya. That's a different kind of covering over our eyes by yoga maya. But most people are covered by Mahamaya, and they just think Krishna's an ordinary person. And that's what we read in 9th chapter, text 11, what we just read back a few verses ago, that Krishna says in that 11th verse, "Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be." So yeah, with our material mind and senses, you're just going to think Krishna's a human being. You're not going to understand that he's God. The only way you can understand that he's God is by hearing from authority. By hearing from an authority, then you can understand who Krishna is, not just by your eyes. So even when Krishna was on the earth, you couldn't understand him by your eyes. What to speak of when he's not on the earth, like that. So we have to hear. And therefore, a devotee is said to have jnana chakshusha. So jnana means knowledge, and chakshusha means eyes. Jnana chakshusha. So we see through our ears, through hearing, through getting knowledge. The main way actually we get knowledge is not through our eyes. The main way we get knowledge is through our ears, through hearing. So by hearing from the Guru and Krishna, then we can see Krishna. We can see Krishna. And you might say, well, how does that work? But even there's some, for example, there's descriptions in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma got a direct realization of the spiritual world and Krishna and everything in his heart. Krishna revealed everything in his heart. Being pleased by his tapasya, his austerities, Krishna revealed the whole spiritual world and what he looks like and everything in his heart. And then in Lord Brahma's verses, you can get a complete understanding of what Krishna looks like without seeing him with your eyes, but by hearing the verses. Like, Vainam Kanvantam Maravinda Dalayataksham. So that's saying Krishna's playing a flute. So visualize that. See that. Okay, God is playing a flute. No, I didn't see God, but I'm hearing that he's playing a flute. Aravinda Dalayataksham means his eyes are like Aravinda lotus. His eyes are like the petals of a lotus. We've got lotuses flowering here at the moment. So you see the beautiful lotus petal is very fat, and then it tapers to a fine point. So it said that Krishna's eyes would go back nearly to his ears. They would come back nearly to his ears. Very beautiful lotus petal-like eyes. And so just by hearing that verse, I can visualize what his eyes look like. Bhagavatam Masitam Buddha Sundarangam. He's got a peacock feather in his turban. So I can see that, not by my eyes, but by hearing that he's got a peacock feather in his turban. Asida Sundarangam. He's got a very beautiful body. Very beautiful. Okay, so God is not an old man with a beard like what the Christians say. So we're not seeing that. We're seeing that he's got a very beautiful body. Anga means body. Sundar means very beautiful. Very beautiful. Asita means very dark, like a cloud. So now I can see that his beautiful body is very dark colored complexion, like a cloud, like a rain cloud. We have some of those around us today. And Kandar Pakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobam. Krishna's loveliness is so exquisite, so beautiful, that he's attracted hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune are just serving him hand and foot, because he's so attractive, so beautiful, that even the most beautiful Lakshmis, goddess of fortune, they're all running after his feet to serve him with great love and reverence, because he's so attractive, so beautiful. So Govindam Maripurusham Tamaham Bhajami. So little Brahma is saying, I worship that original person, Govinda, like that. I worship that original person. So like that we can see God through hearing, this hearing process. So sometimes it's called jnana chakshusha, seeing through knowledge, or shastra chakshusha, seeing through the scripture. Seeing through the scripture. Shastra means the scripture. So that way you can see. So we can learn to visualize God, see God, but through hearing from God like that. And so this realization of God is going to come when God's pleased by our service. Then he reveals himself to us, and he, being pleased, he can give us the intelligence and to be able to understand him, and the eyes to be able to see him if he's pleased. Like he gave the eyes to Lord Brahma to be able to see him. So Lord Brahma could see Krishna because Krishna was pleased, so he revealed himself. So this path that we follow is called Avaroha Panta. Avaroha Panta. Gulshan, you're appearing and disappearing. Manifest and non-manifest.
No, my phone is getting overheated. It's just getting an emergency call only, so I just turned the air conditioner on in the car.
Oh, don't worry. Just go outside under the tree. Don't worry about the kids. Don't worry about it.
Actually, I need the battery.
I told you to come to my house.
Yeah,
and you didn't come.
It's okay.
It'd be so much easier if you just here. You're welcome.
Yeah, I know. Next time.
See, Gulshan, this is the process. You have to listen to the authority. Bhakti Mala's senior devotee. She's more senior than you. You should listen to your authorities.
I told him to come over and do class
You're not
here.
bowing down. You're not bowing down to the authority.
100% right.
The next time you do. Now you're being scorched. You're being cooked, roasted, because you didn't listen to the authority.
As long as I'm listening the glory of Krishna, that's fine. Body doesn't matter. Heating doesn't matter. Sweating doesn't matter.
Certain conditions make it easier to hear. You know, if you're...
You can just bring your own computer. You can sit on the lounge and I'll sit over here.
So the knowledge going for which channel to inside my body, I don't even know. My all channels are open. Every thread, every hair, everything. So hopefully it's a Krishna's mercy.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So what were we saying just before? Can you remember?
Maybe if I put the phone in the water, it'll be cool it down a bit.
No, don't put it in the water. What was the last thing we were saying?
The last thing you were saying.
Oh, yeah, Avaroha Panta. Yeah. So this path, Panta, there's two paths. So this path we're on is called Avaroha Panta. So Avaroha, like Avatar. Avatar means one who descends. So the incarnations, when God comes from the spiritual world to the material world, he's coming down. That's called Avatar. And like there's the word Avaroha. So that means the knowledge is coming down. So the knowledge is coming from the highest place, the highest person, Krishna, coming down through the succession to us. And that's very easy. We don't have to speculate. There's no guesswork. There's no, I think, maybe it could be like this, could be, maybe. Prabhupada said anyone that starts a sentence with maybe, could be, I think, he said, is a mudha. That person's a fool. You know, if you say, I think, maybe, could be, in my opinion, they're a mudha. You know, actually, we're just hearing the truth. We're just interested to hear the truth. There's only one truth. There's not 2, 3, 10, 100, 1,000, but there's 1,000 opinions, 1,000,000 opinions. There's 1,000,000 I thinks, could be's, everything. But what's really important is actually the truth, not all the, theories and, like in science, right? They have this theory, that theory, the evolution theory, this theory, that theory. but what's the point of all these theories? And they keep changing the theories every few years. If they change it every few years, what does that mean? That the one they had before wasn't true. And the one they're doing now, they're saying is true, but in a few years they say, oh no, we have a new one now, that wasn't true. So what's the point? We're just wasting time going around in circles. But actually in Krishna consciousness, right from the beginning you get the truth. And that same truth never changes. Like the same thing we're hearing now was said 5,000 years ago. And if you look in the 4th chapter, let's look at the beginning of the 4th chapter. So what we're saying now is the same thing as what was being said when Krishna was here 5,000 years ago. And then what Krishna said 5,000 years ago, let's have a look. Read the first verse, 4th chapter, first verse.
The personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, said, I instructed the imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu instructed to Ishwaku.
And then look towards the end of the purport, in the last paragraph, you'll see the long numbers.
Yeah, very
Prabhupada says there, a rough estimate is that the Gita was spoken at least 120,400,000 years ago. And in human society, it has been extant for 2 million years. So what this means is that Krishna spoke the same knowledge that he's telling Arjuna. He spoke the same knowledge 120,400,000 years ago to the sun god. Then the sun god passed it down to his son, to Manu, and that's when it came to human society. So it came in human society to Manu 2 million years ago. Krishna was on the earth 5,000 years ago. The same thing Manu had known 2 million years ago. And the same thing that the sun god knew 120 million years ago. So the truth is always the same. It never changes. This is what we want to know. What's the truth? Not the latest theory. It wasn't true in the past, not true in the present. It's not going to be true in the future. It's just nonsense, just wasting time. Actually, Prabhupada talked about having a fertile brain, and he talked about mental concoction. You'll see Prabhupada mention those words many times. Fertile brain, mental concoction. This is a kind of sense gratification that we like titillate our
Titillate.
Titillate, yeah. Titillate our mind and intellect. It's like a kind of subtle enjoyment. You know, there's gross enjoyment, right? I'm going to stuff my face with a burger, with eat a croissant, or whatever, some kind of sweet or something like that. So you've got the subtle is in the mind. The mind thinking about so many things in our mind. So that's a kind of subtle enjoyment. So the Gyanis, that's where they're not into physical pleasure. Like they'll give up a sex life. They'll give up, meat eating and drinking and all these kind of things easily. They've given up all that. They're not interested in those things. But they're interested in a more finer kind of enjoyment, which is on the mental platform, on the intellectual platform. So they're titillating their mind and intellect like that. But it's still material. It's still material. And they can't come to the right conclusion. So they're always changing their ideas in that. And they enjoy that. And we see that even if you look in terms of the scientists, which are kind of Gyanis, that they make money out of doing that, by coming up with these different theories and that. That's how they can justify charging their salaries and wages through coming up with some new theories and like that. Otherwise, how are they going to justify getting paid if they don't come up with anything? So they have to come up with something. So they just rack their brains. Oh, I think, that, the earth broke apart from this thing. And like someone was telling about the other day, I saw that some continent separated, Australia separated from this Guyana land or what, Gondwana land, so many million years ago and blah, blah, blah. What a load of hogwash. How do they know any of that? They're just making up something, but they got to justify their salary. Otherwise, the government's not going to pay them or whatever. So they got to come up with something that, Australia broke off from this big place and like that separated off and this mountain went up and this one went down and like that, this fish came out of the water and blah, blah, blah. And, your great, 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 great grandmother was a monkey and everything like that. So when we go, wow, yeah, that sounds pretty amazing. Okay, yeah, we'll pay you some money. So, yeah, but it's all cheating. It's all cheating. And that's why it said the four defects of a conditioned soul, right? We make mistakes. We have imperfect senses. We're subject to illusion, and we have a cheating propensity. This is the cheating propensity. I think maybe this is my theory. It's just cheating. It just cheats, just to make money and become famous. And then you can write at the bottom of your theory who you are. And wow, this is Professor Abai Charan just came up with this amazing idea, that human species fell down from Mars. We were originally Martians and we've come down to the Earth. But yeah, we were Martians and like that, whatever, so many things. So, and we try to become famous and so many things through that. So yeah, it's just very subtle enjoyment through all this fertile brain, like that.
Okay, Prabhu, would you say like some of the New Age like spiritualists are Gyanis? Is that what an example would be, or like The Secret and things like that? The manifest, The Secret.
Yeah.
That, yeah, like
I've heard the name, but I haven't read it. But yeah, they're definitely speculating. Yeah. It's all speculation.
Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all speculation. Yeah.
A lot of the New Age stuff.
If they haven't taken the knowledge from their authority, who has also taken it from their authority, up, up, and up, and up, trace back to God, it's speculation. Mm-hmm. If you ask any of these people, who's your guru, and they say, I don't have a guru, then immediately you know it's speculation.
But the secret and all that, it's not spirituality. It's about using the mind to, which I mean, from practical purposes, it is what we all do. We have something in our mind and we focus on it and we do whatever it takes to get what, to achieve whatever it is that we want to achieve. And that's how it all, from a practical point of view, that it works that way. But I don't think it's insinuating anything spiritual.
No, but I mean, this is all, we're just talking about mental speculation. So yeah, it's still within that mental speculation. But even though, they might have some understanding of the mind, but they have a lot of gaps. They have a lot of gaps, because they think you just think positively about something and you'll get it. But they've missed out a very important part of the equation. You just think, I'm going to become rich, 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 and then say later on you become rich.
No, but that's not it. Yeah. No, I mean, it's anything.
One important part of the equation they missed out, okay? Yeah, you think you're going to become rich, and then what's happening is, who's hearing that? God's in your heart is hearing that. And then God in your heart is saying, okay, do you have the previous good karma to actually fulfill that desire to become rich? Yes. Okay, you do become rich. No, then you don't. So not everyone that thinks I'm the richest person, I'm the richest person, I'm the richest person, I'm the richest person. Not everyone is going to become the richest person. But those that have the sufficient good karma, yeah, then they'll become. But normally these Gyanis and speculators, they don't talk about that put your desire at the feet of God and then God is going to decide, sanction it. He's going to sanction or not. None of them usually talk about God is going to sanction your desire. They just talk about how powerful is the mind. The mind is very powerful, and if you just focus your mind enough, then you'll get what you want. But they leave out the most important part of the equation, which is that it depends on God whether you're going to get what you desire or not. Now, it's all good that you desire something. That's all very good. But it has to go through God. Even it's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, even the demigod cannot give the worshipper of the demigod anything unless Krishna sanctions it.
Yeah.
That's even another thing, you know. Even a demigod can't give you what you want if Krishna doesn't sanction it. So Krishna's sanction is essential. But I guarantee in The Secret or whatever, they're never going to mention that, you know, Krishna has to, you know, give permission or sanction to your different desires. They're just talking about how powerful the mind is and everything, and you got to focus it and direct it and everything like that. And that's part of the equation, but there's the most important part they don't know. And they'll never know that. Without the mercy of God, they will never understand God. You cannot understand God from your own limited mind and senses. It's not possible. And that's a stumbling block that none of them can overcome. None of them can overcome. Without the mercy of God, unless God reveals himself, you cannot understand God. You know, unless God's pleased by what you're doing, then you're not going to. Looks like Gulshan's phone is
dropped off again.
Is overheating. I hope he gets a realization.
But it's, I don't think they are speaking from, I mean, it's, the mind is I mean, we have to, I mean, this is like a goal, like you have goals,
yeah,
you know, and then you work towards it. It's not just magically going to appear. If I, for instance, I mean, throughout school, I have exams, I want to pass my exams, I have to study, and then, and if I put in the work, I get the results. But it's not like I see myself getting a distinction and I just sit back and don't do anything. I'm not going to get the result. It's just that, I mean, it's just from that point of view. It's just mind, how the mind, you know, you focus and it's followed by the necessary actions, and then you get the results. It's not just magically like this with a magic wand.
No.
Yeah.
But however, it's not so simplistic, because you have, for example, talking about educations and so forth, that you have people that never went to school and can't even write their name, and they're millionaires. And I heard Prabhupada tell in a lecture of one Indian man, he was quoting that he would have to get someone else to write a check for him. He couldn't even write the person's name he was sending the money to. I mean, he could write his own name, but he couldn't write the other person's name that he had to send the check to. He had to get someone else to write that. But he was like he was a crorepati, you know, multi-millionaire. And yet someone else has the BSc, MBA, PhD, and is struggling to pay the bills. So it's not just by your endeavors that you're going to achieve X results. It's really everyone is under the mercy of God and under the mercy of their previous karma. If you've got good karma in the past, even you don't go to school, you're going to have heaps of possessions and money and so forth like that. And even you have the best, born in the best family, and you've got the best education and all these facilities. But if you've got bad karma, you might always be struggling just to survive like that. So, yeah, it's a bit more complicated.
Sure.
You know, but what you say is true, that, you know, so God is, we're destined to get something, right? Because of our past good and bad deeds, we're destined to get a certain amount of happiness and money and health and whatever. However, to manifest what's destined to come to you, you have to act, right? So it's not just going to fall out of the sky, but you just got to go through the motions and do something. But I'll tell you, at the end of the day, you're going to get what's destined to come to you.
For sure.
But you still have to do something.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, totally.
But these Gyanis and that will never say that. They'll never say that. They'll never say that. They'll say it's all depending on you. It's all depending on you. But it's not just depending on us. It's depending on God, like that. So they usually won't give any credit to God for our life, you know, the good fortunes that come to us in our life. They normally just take all the credit themselves, but that's not true. And also, like I say, you know, that it's going to be relative to what good and bad things we've done in the past. So in that sense, it is due to us, but also our past lives. But normally people aren't going to be thinking about that in the equation like that. They're just seeing this life, you know, what I do in this life. I hope Gulshan's phone didn't blow up.
I invited him over the other day.
He's stubborn. He's stubborn.
I don't know if he's embarrassed or something. He didn't want to come. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, well. I told him to come over.
Yeah.
Maybe he just didn't feel that it was appropriate in.
Yeah, I thought that, but anyway.
But yeah, try to help him whatever way you can.
Yeah.
You might have to go and sit in the van. He'll come in.
No, just, anyway, try.
No, yeah. I know that's true because I was unwell for like 15 years with my mental health, and I did every type of therapy, every type of group therapy, every type of natural healing, everything that you could possibly imagine. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on everything, and it wasn't until I started chanting Hare Krishna and that I met the devotees that my health started to improve. It's still not great now. I still have a lot of health issues, but over the last 8 years I've been able to do incredible things that I couldn't put one foot in front of the other before that. So you know, I can see that in my own life. It's not just about, you know, how much we try. You know, it's also about the mercy of God and the devotees and Guru and Prabhupada and you know, it's obviously I still have a lot of issues, but I mean things that I've been able to do is just incredible.
No, I mean, if I remember back to what you were all like when I first met you all, and then now, there's so much transformation in a positive way in all of you, Gulshan, yourselves, and like that.
We all grew older, Avi.
Yeah, we're all older.
More, you know, so many auspicious, so many good things have happened to you all, and just a lot more peaceful and happier personalities and less anxieties and all these kind of things. So we've seen the changes. But yeah, so getting back to today's verse. We were talking about Avarohapanta. So yeah, we're on the path of the knowledge is descending. It's coming down. Knowledge is coming down to us, perfect knowledge. And that's always true, like I was saying, you know, 120 million years ago to the sun god, same thing to Manu, same thing Krishna was saying, same thing Prabhupada is saying. It's not changing, it's the truth. And the other path is called Arohapanta. Aroha means going up, ascending. So that's the part from my brain, from my teeny brain. I'm trying to figure out the universe. I'm trying to figure out what's beyond the universe from my teeny brain. Is that going to work very well? Good luck. No, from our teeny brain, what are you gonna know? You know, You know, when the sun goes down, we can't even see our nose, you know, we can't even see our hand in front of our face. You know, so we're so limited. We're so limited what we can understand. So, I mean, that path is there, but it's a very difficult path. That path of you're struggling to understand how everything works from your own perspective, from your own mind and senses. That's very troublesome, very difficult path. Very difficult path. And I'll tell you what and I guarantee all these speculators, their ultimate conclusion they come to, you know what it is? As far as you can go with your mental speculation. What's the ultimate limit of your mental speculation? What's the highest point you can get to from mental speculation in terms of God realization? Jayanti's saying that you're God. Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. The highest realization that's possible from your own mind is that everything is God's energy. So that means Brahman realization. It's absolutely impossible to get any further than the first step in God realization, which is called Brahman realization, from mental speculation than that. You can't get any further than Brahman realization. But that's the first step. There's actually 3 steps. But the next step is Paramatma realization, the super soul, and the final step is God realization, Bhagavad realization. But those other 2 steps, it's impossible to get to from mental speculation. You can only get as far as Brahman realization. And if you get to that realization that everything is God, and then you take a wrong turn to think that because everything is God, that means I'm God, that means I'm everything. See how the speculation took place? Okay, everything is God's energy, right? So that means I'm God also, because I'm part of everything, right? And that means, okay, I'm God, so then I'm everything. So you see how the mind took you down a wrong turn? And as soon as you think I'm God, I'm everything, that means you're back to square one again. You see? So you go right up to the very top of realizing God, and then you come right back down to that's the very reason why we came to the material world in the first place. That's what brought us to the material world, where we wanted to be God. So if through your mental speculation you come to that conclusion that I'm God, that's the very reason why we came to this bloody place in the first place. It's because we had that desire to be God. So you stuffed up, mate, by your mind has stuffed you up, and it's brought you right back down to the very beginning of what caused the soul to fall down into the material world, why we left the spiritual world, because we had that desire to be God. So, yeah, it's not a good path to go down the path of mental speculation. And all these jnanis, that's the realization they come to, is that I'm God. We're all God. I'm God, you're God, everyone's God. And then God doesn't have any meaning also, because God means the supreme person. But if we're all God, then where's the supreme? Because we're all equal, right? But God means that person that doesn't have any equal. Do you understand that? So let's look at 7th chapter, text 7, where Krishna says here that there's no truth that's superior to me, and nothing is equal to me. And everything rests upon me as pearls strung on a thread. I think it's 7:7. Yep.
O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread.
Yeah, so I mean, if we're all God, that God has no meaning. God means that person that no one is equal to God, no one's superior to God. He's the most superior person. If we're all God, then God has no meaning. There's only one God, and everyone else is not God. Everyone else is a servant of God. Then God has some meaning. You know, so God is that person that has no equal, has no one superior. He's the most superior, and like that. So this is very foolish. The whole process of mental speculation, jnana, is just from beginning to end is just full of frustration and going around in circles, and ultimately bringing us back right down to the lowest point of having a desire to be God, which is the very cause of our beginning of our suffering. Is the very beginning of our suffering was misusing our free choice to, instead of being satisfied and happy serving God, we wanted to be God, you know. So that is the root cause of our suffering. And if through all of our mental Prabhupada also used the word mental gymnastics. Through our mental gymnastics we come to that point, then we've come back to the beginning again. So that was, it's like you nearly got out of this material world by that, you know, a Brahman realization. You nearly become transcendental, and then boom, back down. Okay, you want to be God. Okay, come back down. Like that. So that's very unfortunate.
Can I just ask,
Yeah.
that 120 million years ago, when
Yeah.
the Bhagavad Gita was spoken to
The sun god.
Yeah,
sun
and
god.
Manu, and I mean, because I'm quite junior. I mean, I don't know a lot of things. But what happened to that at that point? I mean, why did
Krishna explained in the next verse, which we didn't look at, but the second verse, 4th chapter text 2, that due to the influence of time, the knowledge got lost.
Okay.
So that's what Kala, time, does. See, time takes away our lifespan. You know, like, why do we have to die? Because of time. So time takes away our life. Say I'm destined, because of my past karma, to live in this body for 67 years. So as time is passing, what is that doing? It's taking away that lifespan. So 66 years, 65 years, 64 years, 63 years, 62 years. So you get it, you know, 3, 2, 1, 0. You know, so it's reducing our lifespan. But another thing it takes away is our knowledge. So like when we go to bed, what happens? Our knowledge is taken away. You've completely forgotten everything that happened in the daytime. And when you wake up, it's like, where am I? And then you have to start all over again, you know, like that, and try to wake up, you know, like that. So that's what time does. It takes away our lifespan, takes away our knowledge. So always ignorance is coming in, everything like that. So all the knowledge gets lost over time. You know, Krishna came 5,000 years ago, brought the knowledge back. But even shortly after Krishna left, already, you know, a lot of that knowledge got lost. Even Lord Chaitanya came again 500 years ago to bring the knowledge back. But even shortly after, within a century of Lord Chaitanya leaving, it started to get lost again. And so many crazy paths people went on, even in the names of Vaishnavas, even in the name of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, means follower of Lord Chaitanya. But there's Bhaktivinoda Thakur and other acharyas point out more than 20 deviations from the real process that Lord Chaitanya gave, more than 20 deviations, even within the first 100 or 200 years. So by the time that Bhaktivinoda Thakur came, which is Prabhupada's guru's father, so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by the time he came, like that would have been 150 years ago or something, by the 150 years ago, there was hardly anything left of what Lord Chaitanya, the process that Lord Chaitanya gave only 500 years ago. Hardly anything was left. So why was that? That's the influence of time. It took away the knowledge, you know, like that. And people change things. It's ridiculous how much we like to change things. And even we know the game, right? Chinese whispers, you go in a circle. It's amazing how quickly what was said gets changed. So by the time you've gone around the circle, it's completely different than what it was at the start. So that's our disease. So time has that effect, but also within us, like I said, we have that cheating propensity. We like to change things, you know. Who's going to recognize me if I say the same thing as my teacher? The only way I'm going to get recognized if I say something new, say something different. But that immediately destroys the knowledge. As soon as you change the knowledge, it's not knowledge anymore. Then it's ignorance. But then, yeah, sure, you got some recognition, you got some distinction, you got some fame, but you've got no knowledge. You know, it's ignorance. So yeah, you got what you wanted, some cheap adoration from the public or whatever, but yeah, you don't have knowledge anymore. And then everyone's cheated. No one can get liberated. No one can get out of the material world like that. So, and Prabhupada said such a cheater, when he dies, goes to hell. So if you cheat people by giving them wrong information, then they go to hell because you've taken them off the right path, and you also go to hell like that. So you might get famous and rich in the meantime, but at the end of life, it's a massive downward spiral like that. But yeah, and that's the way we think materially. So that's our materialistic mind. I have to say something different, otherwise who's gonna know about me? Who's gonna recognize me? But for a true devotee, that's not what you want. You don't want to be recognized by the people. You do want to be recognized by God. That's a devotee. You want God to recognize you. You don't want Tom, Dick, and Harry to recognize you. Who cares about them? You know, they're not important at all. There's only one important person, and that's God. So we want God to recognize us, and God will recognize us if we're chaste. If we're chaste to what He's telling us. You know, if we don't deviate from that. You know, we stay true to what He wants, what He says. You know, then He'll be pleased. You know, so we want to be recognized by Him, you know, like that. If we want all the material gifts of fame and fortune and recognition, adoration, distinction, everything, then we ourselves become cheated of the real gift, which is to please God and go back to Godhead like that. So, but that's our free choice. But yeah, so this is talking about others. So others means the others that they want the subtle enjoyment of mental speculation, like that, cultivating knowledge. And I mean, so I have in one sense been criticizing these people, but from another angle, let's look at it from another angle. From the kind of person that just on the path of sex, drugs, rock and roll, you know, gross physical enjoyment, these people that are after the more subtle mental enjoyment are better. They're better. So the jnanis are better than the karmis. So karmi means just perform some materialistic activities for some immediate enjoyment, for the tongue, belly, genitals, and so forth. Some, you know, what we call just gross sense gratification. So these ones, the jnanis, they give up that gross sense gratification, sex, drugs, rock and roll. They give up that and go for the more subtle enjoyment on the mental platform. So the mental platform is more subtle, it's more finer, and it's better than the gross physical, but it's not spiritual. So from a higher platform, you know, we can criticize that mental speculation, but it's better than just being a gross sense enjoyer. It's better than that. And like it's saying here, those mental speculators, they worship the Supreme Lord as one without a second. So like I said, Brahman realization. So that's the object of worship for a mental speculator, is they see that God is just everything. God is everywhere. He's just energy, no form. So from mental speculation, it's impossible to understand that God has a form. They will never understand from their brain that God has a spiritual form. What they will understand with their brain, that everything is God's energy. There's an all-pervading energy like that. So that's going to be the object, is Brahman realization, like that. So they see that the whole universe is actually everything is God. It's just all God, like that. So they often will worship, the whole universe, everything, which is very hard. I mean, how can you visualize the whole universe with your brain? You can't really. It's very difficult. So interestingly, and it's pointed out many times that often these jnanis, because they can't really visualize the whole universe, it's just too big to fit it in your brain. What they will often do is they will worship a deity like we do. So often these impersonalists, these jnanis, will often have a deity of Sita Ram or Lakshmi Narayan or Radha Krishna or Nrsimhadev or something like that, or Shiva or something, or a Shiva Linga or something like that, and they'll worship that with incense and flowers and do everything that we do, offer incense and flowers and food and everything like that. But the difference is, so externally it can even look like what they're doing and what we're doing externally is the same. However, there is a big difference. You know what the big difference is? So externally, worshipping a deity, same. Offering things to the deity, same. Even sometimes they'll chant japa, same. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, or Hare Krishna, or whatever. Om Namo Shivaya, Om. Actually, usually the impersonalists, they will recite Om, because that doesn't represent a form. Whereas Hare Krishna is addressed to a form. But they don't worship form, so they'll normally say Om, because Om has no form. You got it? So that's all same, but where's the difference?
It's not service-based, as it's
correct.
transactional-based, is it?
Very good. It's not service-based. So what is the base? What is their goal?
They want something.
Okay, now I'm worshipping the deity, but what's the goal? The goal is to become one with the...
Brahman, is it one with the...
One with the deity. One with Brahman. One with everything. So they just think that the deity is just part of Brahman. So they think they're going to become the deity, become Brahman, become everything when their realization is perfect. Now it's not perfect. I'm practicing, so I have to worship the deity and everything like that. But when I become perfect, then I'll become one with the deity, become one with everything. Then I don't need to worship anymore. So their idea is this is just a temporary stepping stone to achieve their Brahman realization. When I've achieved the Brahman realization, then I'll merge, become one with everything, and then there's no more worship anymore. Because obviously if there's only oneness, there's no difference between the worshipper and the worshipful, or the worshipped, because it's only one, right? If you say worshipper and the worshipped, that's two. So that's not it. That's not one. So their idea is everything becomes one. Then there's no worshipper anymore. That's me, the worshipper, and the worshipped, which is the deity. Then it's all going to become one, like that. So that's their idea. Temporarily, I'm going to worship, and then when my realization is complete, then I'm going to become one with the worshipped, and like that, then everything is one. And then there's no more bhakti, no more service, no more doing anything. I just merge and become one with everything, like that. So that's a big difference.
Actually, sorry, I mean, it just helped me to understand, and also the way that I have been trained and brought up. It's always to challenge or ask things.
No, go for it.
But and I think in some of the earlier classes, just recently we have kind of a little bit talked about how there are many things that that we want or we are or whatever, because that's the essence of Krishna. Like, people want to be, you know, doing all kinds of things to stay young as possible for as long as possible, because Krishna is young. For instance, that right? Because and then I think we kind of said because okay, our souls are part of, I mean, we are just tiny specks of the whole.
Yeah.
And therefore, we have these desires or these things that we want, which pretty much kind of is linked with, because the whole is that, therefore we kind of want to be that.
Correct.
And then there's also, we've had that discussion of, you know, a drop of water and then the whole body of water. In essence is the same, but quantity different. Size is different. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just thinking this, my mind is always thinking of things, but it's
good.
This the oneness, I'm just kind of feeling that it's coming from that aspect, not with knowledge. They're not doing that with knowledge, but I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, our philosophy is called Achintya Beta Beta Tattva, which means, that's from Lord Chaitanya presented that, which means simultaneously we're one with God in quality, but different in quantity. So that's what the impersonalists, Mayavadis, don't understand. They just think we're one in quality and quantity, but it's not the same in quantity. You know, we're minute. We're same quality, but I'm minute amount, like you said, the drop of water, like that. So, but that aspect they haven't understood. They just think we're one, but they haven't realized that the quality is one. Yes, we agree, but not the quantity like that. And it's obvious that we're not one in quantity, because, I mean, God knows everything, you know, omniscient. Do we know everything? Oh. Do I know what you're thinking? Do you know what I'm thinking? Like that. So, do you know everyone's past, everyone's present, everyone's future? God knows past, present, and future for everyone. And God is present everywhere. Are we present everywhere? Am I in Australia and India and China and Africa? No, I'm only in one place. Like that. So obviously the quantity is different, but they don't get that. But we're the same in quality, means God's nature is he's eternal, and my nature is also, I'm also eternal. And that's why I'm afraid of dying, why I don't want to die, because actually my nature is not to die. My nature is to live forever. That's why it's very incompatible for us to think about growing old, us think about dying, you know, because actually our real nature is not to grow old. Like you said, to be young. Our nature is to be young. We are young. You know, the soul is always young. So it's only the body that's getting old. The body is dying like that. And our nature is, we're full of consciousness, knowledge. You know, we're not just some dull matter, ignorant matter. We're always conscious, you know, we have knowledge. So God's nature is knowledge, is consciousness. And our nature is, we're always searching for happiness. We always want to be happy. No one's searching for suffering. You know, we're trying to avoid suffering. We want to be happy, because and God is always happy. So that's our nature. We're part of God. So God's always happy, Ananda. So our nature is to be an Ananda also. So we're all searching. So there, the point the Guru makes is we're just searching in the wrong place. And nice examples given, like if you're searching for water in a desert. Water does exist. It's not that water doesn't exist, but you're looking in the wrong place, mate. Don't look in the desert. Look outside the desert, you know. If you're looking for water in the desert, that's called a mirage. That's an illusion. So in the same way, looking for happiness in the material world is an illusion. You know, happiness exists, but not in the material world, in the spiritual world. It exists in the material world for the pure devotee, because the pure devotee is not in the material world. The pure devotee, who's like saying in these verses, in the previous verse, 9:13, 9:14, he's nitya yukta upasate, he's always engaged in devotional service, means he's already in the spiritual world. He's always chanting the holy name. He's always working hard to please Krishna. He's always bowing down, surrender to Krishna. He's already in the spiritual world. So for him, it's a happy place, the material world. But for everyone else that's in Maya, it's a miserable place, the material world. But we're always searching for happiness, but we're looking for it in the material world. We think if I move to Sydney, I'll be happy. We think if I move to Hawaii, I'll be happy. And then all the houses got burnt down in Hawaii. And then if I move to Los Angeles, I'll be happy. And then all the houses got burnt down in Los Angeles. You know, and then we think if I move to New Zealand, I'll be happy. Don't move here, you'll probably burn down here. You know, so according to our karma, you know, like that, we have to suffer like that. So, but yeah, we're searching for happiness, but just looking in the wrong place. But yeah, so qualitatively, we're one with God, but quantitatively different. And in the spiritual world, when we go back to serving Krishna, you can't recognize the difference between us and Krishna hardly. It's said that God and God's devotees, they look almost identical. Same color skin, same clothes, same jewelry, same hair, same garlands, everything same. The only difference is Krishna has a special necklace around his neck called the Kasturba Mani, which has the jewel is the shape of a cow, a calf, and he has a golden line of hair on his chest, which is called the Srivatsa mark. But apart from that, absolutely identical. And everyone's the same. Same nature, everything. So, but the only difference is that the devotee always has an attitude to serve God. So we look like God, everything the same, live with God, same planet as God, same facilities as God, living in the same place, everything the same, eat the same food, everything, same house. The only difference is that the devotee always has an attitude to serve God like that. And that's the beginning of our downfall, when we don't have that service attitude. You know, that's the cause of our suffering, when we give up that service attitude and take that up, change that into an enjoying attitude. We just want to take God's position. He's the enjoyer, and we're meant to be enjoyed by him. You know, so we serve him and he enjoys that. And by Krishna enjoying our service that we're giving to him, by doing that, then we enjoy. So actually we do enjoy, but we're called secondary enjoyers. It's like we give the food to Krishna to eat first. Then after Krishna has eaten the food, we eat it second. So we're both eating the food, but he eats the food first, we eat it next. So Krishna enjoys eating the food, and then we also, after Krishna eats it, then we eat it, we enjoy it too. But the only difference is that we enjoy it after he's enjoyed it. So that way we actually enjoy more. That's the mystery of service. If you actually serve Krishna, you actually enjoy more. I'll give you one beautiful little pastime. In Krishna's pastimes, the gopis, they're older cowherd girls. They're married. And the cowherd girls that are too young to be married, They're not yet married. They're called manjaris. So the older cowherd girls, the gopis, they directly serve Radha and Krishna in the forests of Vrindavan. They're the ones that put the sandalwood pulp on Radha and Krishna's body. They're the ones that put the garlands around Radha and Krishna's neck. They're the ones that offer the food to Radha and Krishna. They're the ones that put the earrings on Radha and put the anklets on Radha and the bracelets and you know, decorate Krishna's face and all this kind of stuff, right? The manjaris are the ones that make the garland. They cook the food. They, what do you call it? Rub that sandalwood paste. They make the paste. Rub the wood on the block and make the paste like that. And then they watch. They watch from in the forests when the gopis offering their sandalwood pulp on Radha and Krishna's forehead. They're watching their paste get put on their bodies, and their burfi and rasgulla, where they're watching it get offered, and Krishna eats it and Radha eats it, and their garland, seeing their garland get put around Radha and Krishna's neck. And you know what their ecstasy is like? Who enjoys more? The gopis enjoy more, or the manjaris enjoy more? The gopis putting the garland around their neck. The manjaris watching their garland putting it around Radha and Krishna's neck. Who enjoys more, the gopi or the manjari? The manjari never gets to put the garland on. You know, never gets to put the food in the mouth. They're just watching. But who enjoys more? See, the manjaris enjoy thousands of times more than the gopis. Thousands of times more. Why? In the spiritual world, the more you're a servant, the more you enjoy. Why? Because Krishna's more pleased the more you're a servant. If you're a servant of the 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 servant, you enjoy more and more and more and more and more than if you were just directly the servant. Directly the servant enjoys, but you're the servant of the direct servant, you enjoy more. You're the servant of the direct servant, you enjoy even more. Why, that's a more, you are the servant. So that's the nature of service. It's not that we have to enjoy first. That's our stupid idea. We're trying to be God. We want to get the first enjoyment. But that's not real enjoyment. That's suffering. That's suffering. We're trying to take God's role. We're not cut out for that. We're cut out to be the servant of the servant. And that's what we're made to do. That's our dharma. Dharma means our natural characteristic. Our natural characteristic is to serve. And the natural characteristic of serving is so much happiness is there. And we've all experienced that. Whenever we're serving, we're so happy. Just like the mother is serving the kids. She's so happy. Is the mother miserable serving the kids? She hardly gets to eat anything proper. She hardly gets to sleep a proper amount. And externally, it looks a miserable life, a mother's life. So many austerities. She's doing everything for the kids and nothing for herself, especially when they're babies. Doing everything for the babies and nothing for herself. But actually, from the mother's point of view, she knows she's the most happy part of her life because that's love. That's love. You know, service means love. And that's the nature of the soul. You know, to always be thinking about the person you love and never be thinking about yourself. Never be thinking about yourself. You always think about the person you love. Actually, this is real oneness. Do you want to know what the real oneness is? Not the Mayavadi's oneness. But the real oneness is Krishna remains Krishna and you remain Krishna's devotee, but you're so absorbed in love of Krishna that you forget yourself. And that is the oneness of a devotee. Is so absorbed in serving Krishna and meditating and thinking about Krishna that the devotee forgets themselves completely forgets. And there's a pastime when Krishna called the gopis with his flute, and then he disappeared because they became proud. And then when Krishna disappeared, then in that separation from Krishna, they were just meditating on Krishna's pastimes. And they meditated on Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill, on dancing on Kaliya's heads, on swallowing the forest fire, on killing the Putana demon and everything like that. And they started to do those pastimes themselves, thinking that they were Krishna. They were so absorbed in Krishna that they became Krishna in that meditation, but they still remained themselves. But they were just so absorbed in Krishna, they forgot themselves. So one gopi actually stood on another gopi because it was thinking that I'm Krishna dancing on Kaliya. So the one gopi was standing on the other gopi, means they were standing on Kaliya, but it was another gopi. So like that, they were absorbed in Krishna's pastimes. And they just started singing Krishna's names. And at that point, we're at the height of them singing Krishna's names, then Krishna came back. And then they went back and had a nice bath in the Yamuna and splashing each other and everything like that. So yeah, that's real oneness. As you keep your individuality, still there's Krishna and Krishna's devotee, but the devotee's always thinking about Krishna, never thinking about themselves. And what's Krishna thinking about?
The devotee.
Yes, because love is two ways, not one way, right? So the devotees always thinking about Krishna, but Krishna's always thinking about his devotees. And that's love. That's pure love. That's our real life like that. But now we're in the desert looking for a drop of water. So we have to get back to that real life, go outside the desert into Krishna consciousness and get that ocean of nectar, an ocean of nectar. Anandam buddhivardhanam paripadam purnamritasvadanam saratma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So especially while this process of coming together and chanting Hare Krishna, like what we used to do on a Friday night in the Bhakti tree, then we can get to taste that ocean of nectar. And I'm sure many people did get a few drops from that ocean of nectar. I know Gail would tell me sometimes, wow, that kirtan joint did was amazing. I went somewhere. She would say afterwards, I went somewhere. Like that. It was just like that went away. That was so blissful like that. So that's how we can taste that nectar. Taste that nectar. Our time's nearly up, but it's only a short paragraph, so purport.
I have
so
to get
how
going.
about? Oh, you have to get going.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no worries. We'll stick to our time. Okay. Hare Krishna Bhaktimala. Nice to see you.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, you too. Bye.
Okay, take care. See you next week, hopefully. So everyone's back home now?
Yep, everyone's back.